Hey everyone, this is your man Marlon Copeland, and I am here with a brand new show called The Top 10. With the Top 10, we will be going over everything that is considered entertainment, whether that's sports, whether it's wrestling, whether it's movies, anything that's top 10. We will get that list and we will deliberate that list and we will break it down. And we will come up with our own top 10 list based off of the other top 10 lists. How does that sound? I think it sounds good. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the NBA came out. I apologize. Bleacher Report came out with a NBA greatest 100 greatest players list. And as you can imagine, this list has caused a lot of controversy amongst the Twitter world or the X world, whatever you want to call it. I still prefer Twitter. So there's a lot of NBA players, former players that's speaking on it. There's a lot of current players speaking on it. There's just a lot of conversation about it. So why not join the fray? And when I look at this list, yeah, it's interesting. Let's jump right into it. Some of the criteria for the Bleacher Report's list, I'm going to be looking to my right at times to kind of read things off to you. So if you see me look over, I'm not just being weird. I'm just looking over. So I'm going to look over and read out some of the criteria for you. Ranking the criteria, it says totality of each NBA player's career. Okay, I like that. Cumulative and per game statistics. I like that. However, the per game statistics can be a little shaky because if you're someone like a Joel Embiid that may only play 50 games a year, and if you're someone like a Kobe who may play 75 games a year, awards. Obviously, awards count. Being MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, those type of things count. Playoff performances, obviously, has to count. When I think about playoff performances, for example, one of the most underrated playoff series that doesn't get talked about is that Toronto versus Philadelphia. When Vince Carter went to go walk when he graduated college, and it was controversy behind it. That was a phenomenal series. To watch those two greats go back and forth at each other, that was a great series. Championships won. I always got to count championships, right? Cultural impact. Excuse me. When you look at cultural impact, I want to talk about that one for a second. I'm not getting into the top 10, but they have Allen Iverson ranked number 35. I think he's probably the second most powerful cultural impact player in the NBA ever. I mean, obviously, Michael's going to be number one. I mean, Michael hasn't suited up in 20 plus some odd years and still has the number one sneaker in the world. Allen Iverson, he combined hip hop and basketball. He made the worlds collide, and we embraced it. He showed urban kids that you have an opportunity if you just put the work in. I think Allen Iverson can't be number 35 if you're going to discuss him on this list and have cultural impact as a criteria. That's just my opinion. Is Allen a top 10 player of all time? Probably not. He's not on my list. I will admit that, but one of my favorite players to ever watch. Overall greatness, obviously that has to count. When you think about metrics and think about all of this stuff that was just named, is basically overall greatness. And then it has layers of analysis, peak versus longevity. There's some people who has had very long careers like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and like LeBron James, although LeBron is not slowing down. Kareem did slow down towards the end, but he still had an impact, and you can't deny that. But, you have some blips on the radar, like, for example, and it's going to seem ironic, but I'm not going down the list of Gil's Arena, but, Gilbert Arenas was someone who I thought was a top 5 player in the NBA for like 2 to 3 years. And if it wasn't for injuries, I think we were robbed of seeing greatness. I think Gilbert is I think first of all, I think he should be a head coach in the NBA. I know sometimes when you watch Gil's Arena, you may say there's a little bit of immaturity there, but I just think that's all show. I think that Gilbert understands today's game. He understands today's players. I think he is one of the best blips on the radar I've ever seen in my life. Like, I mean that I enjoyed every moment of watching Gilbert Arenas play the game of basketball when he was at the peak of his powers. Another person who I thought was phenomenal at the peak of their powers, even though and it was probably shorter than Gil's, but I love Brandon Jennings. I thought Brandon Jennings was a great left hand. I'm a left-handed guy, so I thought he was a great lefty. I enjoy he could score, he can slash, he can do everything. Brandon Jennings was somebody to be reckoned with. When, it just the knees went out, and then Milwaukee was kind of weird, like, but he was definitely a piece of the puzzle, and he could if he just would have stayed healthy, this guy would have been he would have made an impact. Definitely would have made an impact. And lastly, even though this guy had a long career, the peak of his powers wasn't as lengthy as it could have been, which is Kenyon Martin. And it's funny because I was not a fan of Kenyon Martin when he came out of college. Well, I wasn't a fan of him at Cincinnati. When he was at when he was in New Jersey, this man was a beast. He was a beast. He was tough. He was the enforcer. He was a phenomenal transition player, a phenomenal defensive player. He did everything that they needed, and I love the team that they built around him. Sometimes, having a team built around you to fit your weak points and enhance your strong points, that's just as good as just being quote unquote LeBron James. This is what they did with Michael Jordan. So when I look at Kenyon Martin when he was in New Jersey, that's exactly what was done for him. And he soared. And I want to say this on behalf of Kenyon Martin, even though I never met this man a day in my life. It is completely and utterly asinine whenever anyone says he's a bust. This man went on to play, I don't know, 15 years in the NBA. How is that a bust? Even Kwame Brown, I know like the Gilbert Arenas and him don't get along. He's not as talented as Kenyon Martin, but he's not a bust. If you played in the NBA over 5 years, how can you if you've gotten 2 contracts in the NBA, how is that being a bust? That's just my personal opinion. I never played in the NBA, so I'm probably worse than a bust. But Kenyon Martin should never be considered a bust. This man was so good in New Jersey. Then he went to Denver, had the knee injuries, altered his game, and still stayed on the court and was productive. He realized he focused on defense and being the enforcer that the team needed. It's not a bust at all. Now, the peak of his powers, definitely he's a blip. That's what I would call him. But, it is what it is. Advanced metrics, I don't really agree with that one either because it's semantics and it's subjective. Because if I was a Jerry West, maybe I would shoot more 3-pointers if I knew that this would be something that would help my career in totality. Even though they didn't have 3-pointers back when Jerry played, but hypothetically, or let's say I would take more high percentage shots if I'm Jerry West. I just think it's semantics. It was something that was created later. So I think you should keep everything to where you could evaluate everyone on a fair playing ground. And I don't think that advanced metrics is one. Intangibles and legacy. I don't necessarily agree with the intangibles piece because I may look at a Dennis Rodman and think that his intangibles are more impactful than someone of a Sean Livingston's. But a Golden State Warrior fan may say, you guys didn't see exactly what Sean Livingston did. Or Andre Iguodala. You may say Iguodala's intangibles outweighed Dennis Rodman's intangibles. So I think that it's subjective as well. Legacy, obviously, legacy and overall greatness is virtually the same thing to me. But that's the criteria. So I will go over Bleacher Report's top 10, and then I will go over my top 10. So we're going to start off with their top 10 first. Number 10, they have Stephen Curry. Yeah, He's definitely a top 10 player in my opinion. Number 9, Wilt Chamberlain. For his time, I mean, I think that he was dominant. I think that he was very limited on who he played against. He only won one championship in an era that was very limited as far as talent. All the talent was on the Celtics. Number 8 is Larry Bird. Larry Bird definitely is a top 10 player of all time. And I want to say this for Larry Bird, and this is also for Magic Johnson, so I don't have to say it again. I want people to understand Larry Bird only played 10, 11 years. Not really long. The longevity is not there. So Magic is about the same. But I want you guys to think about something. When the NBA was going on during that era, it was on tape delay. The finals was on tape delay. I want you to realize that college basketball was more popular than the NBA during this time frame. And then you have this brash, outgoing, smile that'll light up a room, 6'9" point guard that comes to Michigan State, sets the world on fire. Then you have this 6'10", hard-nosed, just tough, trash talking, highly confident white boy, because that's important for those times, that comes into Indiana State and take them to the Final Four. Take them to the national championship game against the brash young man. And even though Magic Johnson won, it still propelled both of them to be great. And not only did this help the NBA, it helped the NBA go from tape delay to being live and in living color. That speaks volumes to cultural impact. So never dismiss Larry Bird. Never dismiss Magic Johnson, because we wouldn't be here. We would not be here watching the NBA on our cell phones, watching the NBA on streaming, watching the NBA on cable, however you watch the game. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson deserves all the credit for that. So cultural impact, and this man won 3 MVPs in a row. Larry Bird deserves to be number 8. Number 7, Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is the model of consistency. Tim Duncan, I feel that Tim Duncan probably could be higher on list if he had more of a personality, but to me, it's not necessarily about personality. It's about what you can do. If you was to take him off San Antonio during that time, they would still be a good team. They would definitely be a good team. They're not winning championships. He was the catalyst for that team winning. He was the guy. And I have to applaud him for that. Tim Duncan was phenomenal. I enjoyed watching him. When he was at Wake Forest. I thought that he was probably, to me, in my opinion, he was the best basketball player I ever seen play the game of basketball in college. And when I say that, you have to understand I'm 46, so I'm not watching Magic and Larry or like Dr. J and all those guys. I'm not watching them. I'm a kid. I wasn't even born when some of them were playing. Number 6 is Shaquille O'Neal, one of the most dominant forces in the game we've ever seen. I don't have a problem with Shaquille being high on the list. Number 5 is Bill Russell. Cultural impact, to me, it means a lot, and what he did for the culture, it speaks volumes. And he won 11 championships, and he won a championship as a player coach. opponents was a little weak back then. Didn't have that many teams, wasn't that much talent. Brother was 6'8". He's taller than most of the people he was playing against, but nevertheless, and what I love about him, he's a great ambassador of the game. And he did all this in one of the most racist cities ever. Respectfully. But I would have him. I would have him on my list. I definitely have Bill Russell on my list. I just don't know if I think number 6 is it 6? No, I'm sorry. Number 5 is just a little bit too high for him, in my opinion. Number 4 is Irvin Magic Johnson. See what I said about Larry Bird. I think Irvin. I mean, the Lakers was fun to watch. There was no question about it. Yeah, what else can you say? The man was a great assist guy. He was God, to watch the Lakers in transition, there was nothing like it. Showtime Lakers, and I mean not only that, I mean the guy was versatile, triple doubles, like he did everything. He did everything, and his decade, the 80s is his and Larry's. There's no question. They're the decade of the 80s, and they definitely. I mean, obviously, I think with Dr. J, I think he snuck in and got one. And Isaiah snuck in and got a couple, and then the rest of it, I think, went all to the Lakers. But nevertheless, Magic Johnson is one of the greatest players of all time, no question. Number 3 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. From beginning to end, him and LeBron, man, they got some sheesh. You're talking about from being like high school to retirement, which LeBron hasn't retired yet. Man, I don't know how. Man, that's amazing. Like you, and I'm not at a loss of words, but I'm just really sitting here in amazement, just looking at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career. I mean, he was one of the best players in high school. He came out of Brooklyn. He went to UCLA, one of the greatest college basketball players we ever seen. He goes to the NBA, immediately dominates, pisses off Wilt Chamberlain. But he's great. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He had the all-time scoring record for, I don't know, 30, 40 years. And then, LeBron comes along and takes it away. And also, when we speak of activism, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's social impact is felt as well. I have to speak on that as well. His cultural impact is there. He definitely deserves to be on this list. Number 2 is LeBron James. LeBron James, I think LeBron James is the first kid we've ever seen play the game of basketball with all the pressure on him to be great from day one. And when I say that, now some of the pressure is probably self-inflicted because the way he was hyped up in high school and the media coverage and the damn Hummer and all that stuff. But I think we've seen this guy have an amazing career from beginning to end, and we don't even know when the end is going to be. Like LeBron may be the first guy to retire averaging over 20 some odd points a game, like in their last season. That's amazing. This man, he doesn't listen. There's nobody better than 20, whatever the Miami Heat LeBron. I couldn't remember the dates. There's nobody as far as peak of their powers, jumping out the gym, doing all this craziness that he could do at that time. There's nobody better than him. Not even the number 1 guy could do that. And LeBron did it against top tier talent. LeBron probably has played against more Hall of Famers than anybody in the NBA. That's something to think about. Last but not least, the greatest player of all time, and I think we all can agree to this, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I think there's 2 variations of Michael Jordan. There's the first incarnation of him before he retired the first time. This guy could do everything on the court. He was phenomenal. He couldn't shoot threes that well, but he can definitely like jump through the air, and he was amazing. I loved watching Michael Jordan. I didn't always root for him, but nevertheless, he's one of the greatest players. He's not one of the greatest players. He is the greatest player we've ever seen. Not only is he one of the greatest players we've ever seen, Michael Jordan is one of the most fundamentally sound. Oh my God, he's one of the most fundamentally sound perimeter players we've ever seen. I don't know why I could not get that out, but he's one of the most fundamentally sound perimeter players we've ever seen play the game of basketball. His footwork is always correct. It's rare that you see him like Hakeem Olajuwon. I love his footwork, but sometimes it's subjective if he's traveling or not. You never could feel that way about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's great. He brought the game to heights that we never seen at the time, and I think LeBron took that torch and kept it going. And now we're waiting on the next guy. I think he may reside in Minnesota, maybe. We'll see. I'm hoping. I love Ant-Man, but we'll see what happens. But that was Bleacher Report's list. So now let's take that list and let's, remix, baby. Yeah, I want to remix it. This is Marlon Copeland's list. So number 10 for me, this is what I think. Number 10 is Bill Russell. I think Bill Russell, the amount of championships that he won, no matter what era he played in, you can't deny that. That is phenomenal. Can't be denied. And when you think about the cultural impact, I mean, what he did to help African Americans, always standing up, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali. I think as African American people that love sports, you should always pay homage, however you want to say it, to those guys and understand what they did for the NBA and for football, all kind of things. I mean, whatever they touched, boxing, they did a lot for, especially in boxing, because boxing is probably one of the most racist sports ever back in those days. But Bill Russell definitely deserves to be on that list, and I know the eras killed me. If he didn't have the championships, I would. There's no way he would have made my list. Number 9 for me, there's no denying that Stephen Curry. There's no denying that he revolutionized the game of basketball. Like what he's done with the game of basketball, as far as 3-pointers, screens, and stuff like that, he's made it look fun. Nobody wanted to run through screens when Reggie Miller was doing all that stuff. He's won 4 championships. He's been a catalyst for the organization. I thoroughly love watching Steph play. And also, there's time for him to still keep adding on, and there's no telling where he could be. I like the team they had last year with Jimmy. I don't know how long Jimmy and Draymond will be able to play together. I'm not really enamored with those two playing together. Because I think they're going to occupy each other's space a little bit. But that's neither here nor there. But if they can get it right, which Steve Kerr is a great coach, he may add a couple of championships. Who knows? So on my list, he's number 9. My number 8 player, I know some people may get a little upset with me, but nevertheless, he's my number 8. It's my list. It's my list. The Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal is one of the greatest centers I've ever seen. He's the most dominant center I've ever seen. I think Orlando Shaq, God, I think that's the best version of him, even though he didn't win that one damn championship. But I loved Orlando Shaq. He could do everything except for shoot threes, obviously. But him being in LA solidified his career. He got the championships. He went on to win a championship without Kobe. But also, speaking of Shaquille O'Neal, him and Kobe are tied at the hip. And I know that's an unpopular statement to make, but to me, you can't speak on Shaquille O'Neal's career without speaking on Kobe Bryant. And it's going to always kind of tug both guys down a little bit because they kind of like negate each other a little, but Shaquille O'Neal is definitely one of the best players I've ever seen, one of the most dominant players I've ever seen. And I don't know. I just had to put him. He's number 8 to me. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people may not like that, and they're probably going to really, shit the bed on this one because My number 7 player is Tim Duncan was the catalyst for his team. And when you think about him being the catalyst, how do you take away from him being, an all-time great? Like you can't. You can't take away from him being an all-time great. You can't say Shaquille O'Neal was better or this person was better, Curry's better. Do you understand that San Antonio was good for many of years? Then they had a stretch where David Robinson hurt his back. He was out. The team, it just went downhill without David Robinson. I think the leading scorer on the year he was out, a year or two he was out, was Dominique Wilkins. Shout out to Dominique. Love Dominique. But they drafted Tim Duncan, and Tim Duncan automatically came in and said, he didn't say it, but he was like, this is my team now. This is my team. And when you have the type of statistics he have, the career he's had, and being the lead dog on the team, you're a champion. You're the man. And to me, he deserves to be number 7 on this list. Number 6 on my list. I love this guy. I miss this guy. I don't understand how Bleacher Report can even make a top 10 list without even putting Kobe Bean Bryant on the list. I'll never forget the day that Kobe passed away. It was a really weird day for me, but I'm not going to get into it. But it was very weird, and it hurt. I don't know Kobe Bryant. I never met Kobe. I'm a fan, and when I watch him play, he is the second incarnation of the second version of Michael Jordan. He's not the first. But I want to say he has 2 variations of his career too. Number 8, Kobe was a damn assassin. He go out and do whatever needs to be done. You need me to lead the team in scoring? I got you. You need me to make some assists? I got you. You need me to dunk on somebody? I got you. He did whatever it took. He's the greatest Los Angeles Laker of all time. There's no Laker that is greater than him. Do I have a Laker higher than him on this list? Yes, and I will explain it. But as far as the totality of his career, he's the greatest Laker to ever play the game of basketball. He won 2 championships as the catalyst without Shaquille O'Neal. You can't win 2 championships and not be pulled a little bit away from Shaquille O'Neal, but they still joined at the hip. Because if Kobe did that, as a Philadelphia 76er, he would be the greatest player of all time, or second, or whatever the case may be. That's the only reason him and Shaq are a little bit lower on my list, is because they just joined at the hip. That's it. Number 5, Larry Joe Bird. So let me explain. I think Kobe's a better basketball player than Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. I think statistically, he's put up the numbers. I think I don't know. I think he's just all around better than them. But Larry Bird, as I said before, the cultural impact that him and Magic had, that cannot be dismissed. It cannot be dismissed. The NBA was on tape delay. It was on tape delay. The finals was on tape delay. College basketball was more popular. It was way more popular than the NBA. And with his combined statistics, individual accolades, gold medals, things like that, he deserves to be high on the list. But his cultural impact carried him a lot. It really did. So now next, the number 4 person on my list, I have to say it's the same thing as Larry. their careers are so parallel. They're so opposite, but so much of the same. And I will say it again. The NBA was on tape delay. The NBA was on tape delay. It was on tape delay. And without Magic, we wouldn't be here. Without Bird, we wouldn't be here. The number 3 player of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think statistically, he's probably had like the second greatest statistical career ever. I mean, from high school all the way to retirement, I don't know who did it better. Well, I know one that did it better, but you know, he goes to LA. He wins multiple championships. He wins multiple MVPs. He did movies. His activism. Kareem is deserves all the flowers he can ever get in his life. Nobody could ever say anything about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's okay if you've never seen him play, because I only caught the tail end myself. But being a basketball historian, I have to be respectful and understand. And looking at their list, cultural impact is on the list. And I don't think that as an African American male, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, LeBron James, I have so much respect for those gentlemen who have spoken up on things that needed to be spoke up on by someone of stature. And those gentlemen did those things. And I'm going to totally always respect cultural impact. Anytime it's included into a criteria, I'm going to respect it. With that being said, my number 2 player of all time, LeBron Ramon James. Looks like he has a unit on in that picture there. I'm sorry, LeBron, but I love LeBron James. I think that he has the best career when it comes to beginning to end. I mean, high school was, he's under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of hype. I never seen someone who's like under the microscope like that. Like LeBron came along right at social media, as the advent of social media started kicking off and things like that, where you can be more scrutinized and people can take your digs and things like that. And he still persevered through all of that, because when people get to talking shit, it can affect you. Like when people say that, it does. I mean, we're all human beings. And this man has won 4 championships. He's won a multiple, I don't even know how many MVP awards. I mean, he's on year 22. And I mean, I think he's coming off of 24, 25 point per game season. The man is phenomenal. I don't know what else to say about an all-time leading scorer, and he's not even known for scoring. I hear people say, "Oh, he don't have a bag." Well, which is true. As far as an offensive repertoire, he doesn't have that. But I tell you what, that motherfucker put the ball in the basket, and he's the all-time leading scorer, and I think we have to live with that. I'm a LeBron fan. It's not my all-time favorite player. My all-time favorite player, 2 of them, not even nowhere near. I think Charles Barkley is number 25 on the list. I have no idea where they have Carmelo Anthony ranked. Those are 2 of my all-time favorite players. Yes, I love losers, and that's all right. No, but they're winners in my eyes. They just ran against some tough opposition. Speaking of Charles Barkley running into tough opposition, greatest player of all time, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. This young man he's older than me, so he's not a young man. He's the GOAT. What else can I say? Man, number 1 in shoes, 6 championships, and that's the thing too. Like we hold his championships to a higher standard than Bill Russell's 11. The hypocrisy. But nevertheless, to me, he's just still the number 1 basketball player of all time. One of the most fundamentally sound players. what couldn't he do? He was ferocious. He go up against anyone. He played the game like he had he just he had everything to lose. That's how he played the game, you know. And you know, the organization did build a team around him, and that's what all that matters, you know. And he's the GOAT. That's all I can say. But that's my list. I'm pretty sure both lists are gonna come off as ass to some people. And guess what? I don't mind, because it's part of life. All lists are subjective. Because who the hell makes a list without Kobe Bryant being in the top 10? The blasphemy. So with that being said, hey, you can catch me on this channel at all times doing my thing. We're going to have some more top 10s coming for you. I hope everyone enjoyed yourselves, because I definitely enjoyed you. Have a good day. Talk to you later.